Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Lots of us are looking for direction in our life, whether it's professionally or personally. Sometimes we seek help. Maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's a counselor or a life coach, specifically spiritual life coach. What do we mean by that? We're going to talk about that today and how a spiritual life coach uses many different tools to help you navigate life and actually make your dreams come true along the way. He is just that, also an astrologer. He's a tarot reader and so much more. And it's great to have him back here. 𝐴𝑁𝐺𝐸𝐿𝑂'𝑆 joins us on the program. How you doing today?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much. I'm honored again to be at your podcast, and thanks a lot for such a great introduction. And of course, I'm definitely here to answer some of those questions that I believe that a lot of people may be confused about and would like to go and dive deep into it to understand how the spiritual guidance or how life coaching can be actually working together with the esoterical systems like tarot or astrology. But the thing is that if you know how to work those systems through, and if you know how to incorporate with them, then it can be a great tool for us all to be able to take a look within inside and understand what blockages we have inside and what hidden potentials we might also have inside, and help us to go through the life and achieve our goals, as you said yourself.
I have to tell you, if I knew this stuff, if you will, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, 15, whatever, my life would be very different. And I was somewhat spiritual, we'll call it that. I'm a believer in psychics, mediums, astrologers, work with them for decades. 25 years ago plus. But I never dug deep into the, call it spiritual side of things, understanding how the cards work and all of that. And once I did, what an eye-opener. And yes. I want to say, before we even begin, the word spiritual, I think, scares a lot of people away because they directly connect it to religion. And that's not what we're talking about here. If you want to connect it to religion, that's great. You can, sure. But that's not what this is. How do you define, as a spiritual life coach, how do you define spiritualism?
So the spirituality actually is playing a very important part, specifically in life coaching. Just, let's say that, as you said yourself, people go to therapists, people go to counselors. The difference between the therapist, counselors, and the spiritual life coach is that we are more trying to work with the belief system of the person as well, and actually trying to help them to navigate this belief system and add it into their life. Again, it can be, like, as you said, you're connected to your religious belief. You can do this. There's nothing wrong with that. But the meaning of spirituality, the meaning of spiritual life coaching is to connect with our subconscious, with our higher self, to be able to gain that information from our higher self. Because, a lot of greatest psychiatrists, even let's say that parapsychiatrists, they were like really working with the subconscious mind, just like Carl Jung himself. And Carl Jung was using the tarot cards in his systems, in his readings, in his analysis. And this is one of the approach that I take in my life coaching technique, my life coaching basically system. I also take the Jung system of approach to the tarot cards. They're related to the human archetypes. And if we actually take a look at the classical deck of the Rider-Waite, then we're going to see that there are very interesting symbolism painted in each card, in each image of the card, and each of them represents certain aspect of our life. There are 56 smaller arcanas, and there's also 21 major arcanas, major and minor arcanas. So the major arcanas, which is the 21 first major arcana, starting with the full card, which is the card number 0, not even 1, and ends up with the card, which is the world, which is the completion. So if we take a look at this, in the esoterical world, it may be considered the path of the fool, but in psychological world, it is called the path of the hero. So this is our starting point of life, and then going through life, going through all the challenges of life, this way evolving, developing ourselves spiritually until we come up to the last point of the major arcana, which is the completion and the time for transformation. And also, again, as I mentioned, there are 56 minor arcanas, which are situational arcanas. And along the path, along the way, they can help to navigate us in which direction to go to be able to kind of achieve our goals or to be able to make right choices about the path that we want to choose. So a lot of times when we're working with the tarot cards or even astrology, we're working with our higher selves, we're working with our intuitive system, I would say.
When you work with somebody and you use these tools, how do the tools help navigate the way you work with someone and also for them, the direction they should head in?
So it's a very good question. So again, as I said, when the people come, the first thing I tell them is that you have to be subconsciously open to this process, because if you are going to be subconsciously open to this process, you will be able to see the results. And the main thing is that why do I have so many loyal clients, let's say that throughout the years that I've been working, because after they found out how it works, how it actually can be useful in their everyday life routine, or like in finding the answers and making the right decisions for them, then they start coming back and understanding the sense of it. And guess what? Throughout the years, some of those clients of mine have become very spiritual. But let's say that, again, as I told you, for example, you came here to me and you just need some sort of a guidance, right? So what we do is that I'm giving the tarot cards to their hands, or if it's a remote session, it's all right. All I need is a concentration of the person to be there for me, the concentration, the focus on the subject that we're going to be working together. So let's say that it's a personal life. Let's say that it's a relationship aspect, a career choice, a path choice. And the very funny thing about the tarot cards, because we are working with the subconscious mind, don't forget. So it means that we can also connect to the subconscious mind of the person that may not be here with us. For example, somebody can be wondering what's going to happen in the partnership or in the partnership life they're having with someone else. So the cards can show us the bigger scenario of the situation, what they're dealing with. So show us some sort of blockages or even the hidden potential of this current relationship that they may not be aware of. But then after we take and analyze the situation by using their own subconscious and how they imagine their partner in front of their eyes, and they open up this access for the intuitive access and give the cards back to me, and we spread the cards around us, and we start analyzing everything, beginning with the feelings, emotions, subconscious mind, desires, blockages. And right after that, after discussing this analysis with our client, we understand what might be the weak points, what might be the areas of this relationship that's lacking that strength and is kind of weakening. And at this point, then we can use the life coaching system in order to be able to navigate our clients into this and to help them with a specific area that is lacking some sort of strength and that is kind of weakening the relationship. So step by step, we start working and incorporating, again, the answers that we get from the tarot. Well, I would say the answer that we get from the subconscious mind, using the kind of the images and the symbolism of the tarot, and incorporating it together with the life coaching system. And eventually, since I started actually doing this, because before I became a life coach, I was very deeply interested in tarot, astrology, and other oracle systems to be able to understand how they work. And the realization came to me that all of these tools are actually guidance tools. They're not really predictive tools, but there's a logical side of understanding and calling it a predictive tool. Because if we think about it, there's definitely the sense of the past that we know. We all have our past. There's definitely the sense of the current or the present that we know that we do have. But the future is usually being defined by our choices, everyday choices, which way we want to go. Like today, you wake up and you decide, well, I want to go to work by bus or I want to go to work by car. Still the destination the same. The destination still remains the same, but the path that we choose to make that decision through can be various. So the tarot cards can show us also the most likely outcome of the made decisions, which automatically turns them into kind of a predictive tool. And that's why people take it from there, considering the tarot or astrology as a predictive tool that can help us to know our future. In fact, our future is defined by our choices, but we can definitely navigate ourselves. We can definitely find a much better way for us to be able to reach those goals of ours or to get to our destination by using such a helping tools like tarot, astrology, and even spirituality in general.
I think it's a game changer having
Thank
those
you.
tools and then working with somebody who's a life coach, because somebody could be a great card reader. Here's the information. Right, great.
Yeah.
Now what do I do with it?
Exactly. Exactly. That was the whole point of mine because, we have a lot of psychics, definitely. We have a lot of tarot readers. We have a lot of intuitive readers.
Sure.
But, just providing the sense of information may not be sometimes enough. Because as you said, some people go to counselors, go to therapists. And when, a lot of times, again, even the sense of being a counselor, certain therapist is like listening to you, is like just analyzing the situation and just helping you to understand and to navigate in your own way. But at this point, imagine that if we are not only working with the conscious mind, which has its filters, and in lots of times may actually confuse us even more, but the subconscious mind is basically the bare soul. So the subconscious mind will always reveal you the truth information as you want. Just like in the cards. Let's say that I pick up the cards, which is five of the wands. I don't know whether you can see it or not. In the cards, there's definitely five men that are fighting with each other. They're conflicting and they have wands in their hands. Of course, by looking at this card, I'm not going to say to my client, well, obviously everything is going perfectly well with you. Like you're feeling complete the sense of happiness. No, the images in the card clearly show us the sense of conflict in the situation, the sense of inner conflict, right? And usually this card navigates us to understand that, okay, the situation that we're asking about is definitely having some sort of conflict and sense. And maybe there's a sense of competitiveness that our client or the person that we're working with should dive into to understand instead of escaping or trying to avoid in the thoughts and just facing this conflict. Or another thing, just like the three of the swords, as you can see the card, another card in the tarot card, which basically shows heartbreak, loss, disappointment, right? So we cannot pick up the card and look at our client to say, oh, you're going to be definitely happy. This is that sense of happiness or joy. No, what this card is basically shows that there's a sense of some sort of disappointment or sense of loss that you might have gone through or you might be going through. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be lasting in this way. The other cards that will be around this cards will be helping us to understand what might be the next steps and next phases that you're going to be going through, or you must be going through in order to be able to come out from this situation in a winner position.
So deep question.
Sure.
Here it comes. Alex, you talk about the subconscious, and in my journey, learning a lot of this, the subconscious holds the key to everything, whether it's holding you back, to everything. Everything's going on within your subconscious.
Absolutely.
How do the cards connect to the subconscious? What's the connection there?
So, because as I told you, like there are different images on the card. Specifically, we're working with the classical rider deck, but there are of course definitely like over hundreds and thousands of decks right now. Sure. Of different authors that they came up with their versions of tarot cards and with their own images, and those images are coming from their own creativity. And as you know, creativity is a part of our subconscious as well, just like the art. For example, how Aleister Crowley made his deck, how Walter White made his deck, how let's say that other people, even like when they were doing their decks and preparing their decks, even if you look at like Picasso or all these great painters, right? Most of the time, the images that they have put on their art is not kind of something that they have observed to be real, but it's coming from their subconscious mind, just like Leonardo da Vinci about the Mona Lisa. Like he saw Mona Lisa in his mind, and then he put it on the thing. But then, you see, by creating these images in your mind, we usually tend to have some sort of emotional triggers that would decide why we should put the colors a little bit brighter here, a little bit lighter dimmed here. And because any image, specifically on the tarot cards, which is by itself, I would call tarot cards a great tool of art actually as well, besides being a spiritual tool. Like all these images call in for some sort of reaction within us when we look at those images. And the first reaction is usually coming from the subconscious mind. The first reaction, if we're just not even diving deep down into understanding what's going on in the image, but the first impression of the colors, the first impression of the signs that we see in the card exactly dives into our subconscious mind and gives us that feedback. So when we are, for example, as an answer to your question, working with our client and they close their eyes, I ask them to imagine themselves being in a place where they feel secure. It can be an imaginary place. It can be any kind of place. And that's important to distract our conscious mind, the filters that's not letting us connect with our subconscious mind. And then after this, I usually ask them to imagine a big old mirror that appears in that place in front of them. And that might be the door into the subconscious world, into their soul. And in that reflection, they usually see the sense of the question. It might be themselves, if they want to ask some sort of guidance from their own soul, coming, regarding to any situation, or even if they want to ask something about their partner, then they imagine the partner in that reflection of the mirror. And basically, what we do is that the first 20 seconds, 30 seconds of the session is being deeply related to the sense of focus and concentration that our client must have. And once they say, I'm ready, I imagine this, I ask this question, it's like they're giving you an access to their subconscious mind. So through this access, knowing my client already, like having some sort of interaction with them, I shuffle the cards and I let the first cards that come into my hand and spread them out. Also keeping in mind the question that we're asking together with my client. So this helps us to create this very strong subconscious connection between us, which in its turn also helps to go through this process and gain the access into subconscious mind. And then afterwards, when we're putting the cards down into the spread, again, regarding of any kind of question or the situation that they're interested in, and then we start intuitively interpreting the cards. And this interpretation usually comes with almost up to 95 to 96% of accuracy. I mean, if you ask me how it works, I think throughout the 11 years of my work in this esoterical world, in the spiritual world, in the spiritual industry, I think eventually it's the ability of the subconscious mind. And that's why I'm saying everywhere I go, and I'm very willing and open to talk about the ability of our brain, ability of our subconscious mind, ability of our soul, that we are not really quite aware of. Just like, throughout the years, a human being was evolving. So now look at this, the medical industry. We have evolved so much. Now we are doing this research against the cancer, against this and that. But not much is still yet being known about our brain. I think we only have about 11 to 12% of our brain working abilities, and we are not aware of what would happen if we had actually almost 100% of our brain abilities be there, right? And the same thing about the subconscious. It's like a big, big ocean of unknown. And then there are little lakes coming from this ocean, and one of these lakes might be psychology, another one might be parapsychology, another one spirituality, tarot, astrology. But it all still comes from the same big ocean called subconscious mind. In some religious cultures, they call it the zone of the God.
Wow. And it's amazing that the subconscious mind, and many researchers have said this, it's like 90 something percent of our daily waking hours. It's all in your subconscious. We're only conscious for about 10% during our day. It's just mind boggling. Do you want to pull a couple of cards as an example?
Sure, absolutely. So let's put it this way. Now, I want you to just ask me, because how it works, again, as I told you,
sure.
The more specific is your question about the things that you want to know. Let's say that it might be anything, very basic thing. So I just want to give you actually an example of how it works. The more specific is the question, the more specific and detailed your answer is going to be and your guidance is going to be. Let's say that ask me a question that you'd like to gain an insight to.
Sure. I'm gonna ask you the question that I'm sure is your number one question. When is the perfect partner going to show up in my life? But I'm going to go even deeper than that.
Okay.
Will the perfect partner, romantic partner, show up in the next 2 months?
That's a very great question. So but at the same time, let's first work on the formulation of the question in order we can get actually more accurate.
Sure.
So when we say when, we are basically giving away the control of our life, which is, again, as we spoke earlier, the future depends on us and our big choices, right? The daily choices that we make. So the right formulation opens up the right access into the subconscious mind, and that's how we get the accurate answers. So at this point, I always say to my clients, the best answer is, what should I do within this 2 months to attract the right partner into my life? What actions may I take within this 2 months to actually activate the energy of relationship in my life? So once we do this, we already know what's the purpose. The purpose is to attract that partner, because we all have frequencies, and we're all just working on an everyday basis with our frequencies. We're interacting with them. So I want you now to close your eyes for a second for me, and imagine yourself being in a place where you feel completely and absolutely, very secured. Right after that, I want you to imagine a big old mirror that appears in front of you in that place. Now see yourself in that mirror as if, let's say, 2 or 3 months from now on, but being very happy joyful, as if you already found that partner of yours. I want you to feel that sensation. And then afterwards, I want you to ask your reflection. What should I do to become you? What should I do to attract that person in my life? And once you feel the connection with your reflection, just the connection, let me know.
I'd say I'm there.
Perfect. Ready?
Ready.
Perfect. You can open your eyes. So I'm going to just pick up like 3 cards, which is going to be the action number 1, what we have to focus on. The action number 2, what we have to focus on. And the action number 3, what we have to focus on. And the advice card. Basically 4 cards in together. So let's go with the first card. And the first card is action number 1. It is the Knight of the Wands. The Wands is responsible in tarot cards and in the elementary world is responsible for the element of fire. And if you look at the image, and if you pay attention to the movement of the Knight of the Wands, you see how the Knight is like pulling up and he's ready to take actions. He actually rising and is ready to attack or make actions moving forward. So what this card says that there's definitely a sense of need to change certain things or certain cycle that you might be having in your life that has kind of become your part of your everyday life routine, which is not bad. This life routine may be very working for you, may be very beneficial for you, but maybe not that beneficial for your personal or interpersonal relationship aspects, but they can be beneficial in your business life. They can be beneficial in your everyday routine. So the first action is like, the first card is the Knight of the Wands, clearly telling us not to be afraid to actually create the first major change or make the first step, which means breaking the cycle and coming out of the comfort zone. So there's definitely a proactive action needs to be taken. Also, for example, because when it comes to the locational meanings of the tarot cards, which each card has its locational meaning, careeristic meaning, and relationship meaning, it may be the Knight of the Wands might be someone that you might meet coming from a little bit of a warmer place, coming from a little bit of a maybe from a different location, not exactly where you were born, but a place where it's warm, where it's like kind of the hot weather place. But this might be also one of the features of your partner that how you may recognize them. But the main purpose and the main message of the first card is to take proactive actions and change certain things in your daily routine. The next card here, we have 9 of the Cups. Well, the 9 of the Cups is actually showing us the sense of satisfaction. And the Cups is deeply related with the element of water, which is deeply related to our emotional state. So, 9 of the Cups shows that actually we may not be that desperate to really change certain things in our life, because I cannot say that we suffer from our solitude. In a way, we actually enjoy the solitude at some point. We're kind of pretty much comfortable with being by ourselves. We're kind of pretty much comfortable with having this sense because it gives us the sense of the freedom. Yes, there would be a desire and a possibility of wanting to have a relationship. But to say that the absence of relationship can affect you or makes you depressed or make you feel fear or scared, no. You might be quite comfortable with this. As you can see, the man is feeling so comfortable. There's a smile on his face. He's sitting and there are 9 cups right behind him. And he's just in a very happy position right now. So which says that actually, again, you might not need anybody else for now currently to fulfill you in order to feel emotionally happy. You are quite happy yourself, this is already a good thing, which means your cup is already full. So you can actually pour from your cup into somebody else's cup and create a healthy relationship. And now the third card is the action number 3 that needs to be taken. So you see 10 of the wands, if you can see the card over here. The man is carrying all those wands on his shoulder, but it's kind of difficult for him. So what this card is saying is the subconscious aspect of the information, which is the blockage why we may not be having relationships. So if we put the cards together, the first card is telling us if you want to have a relationship, you got to start taking proactive actions and change something in your daily life routine to be able to spend more time on your relationship aspects. The second card, however, tells us that, well, I'm quite actually happy with my solitude, with my privacy. So that's why I'm not really taking that much, specific actions towards this area of my life. And the third card says that you might be actually feeling quite overwhelmed in lots of ways, doing your things and your everyday life tasks. And in a way, you might even seem or feel like the relationship can be now kind of a burden for you if you decide to jump into the sense of relationship. So because let's say that my soul is saying, I'm too busy with things that's going on. But also at the same time, I don't mind having a relationship, but that's why I feel so happy with my solitude. But because I think that if I just jump into a relationship all of a sudden with everything that I have in my life, then it can cause me some sort of sense of being burdened, like being overwhelmed
Yep.
with all these things that I have to go through.
We
But
we
also
have about
when
minute left, and I have a lot to say. I want to
okay,
share with
okay.
you based on what there was
Sure,
an
sure, sure,
action
sure, sure.
card. The fourth card was an action card.
Yes, it's an advice card, and this is
Advice
the
card.
Five of the Cups. The Five of the Cups is basically clearly telling us that actually not to let our emotional downs affect us and just be rushing into the relationship, because the relationship aspect will be coming, absolutely coming, if you take some sort of actions. But one thing you have to understand, that there might be emotional sense of satisfaction in you right now, which is not in rush to find a relationship. You are pretty much kind of welcome or happy with yourself, with your own solitude right now, I would
Alex,
say.
I have two words for you,
Yes.
and they are, you're good.
Thank you. I really
and
appreciate that.
and some may think, well, that's generic cards or whatever. All I'm going to say here is that resonated very well with me.
Thank you so much. I
And,
very appreciate it.
and I don't need to go into the details or whatever, but it made a lot of things clear. Very much so.
Thank you so
Interesting.
much. I very appreciate it. It's my
Interesting.
great pleasure.
It's super cool, actually. I mean, offline I could go into more detail, but there's very accurate for me at this point in time. I get exactly what you're saying in terms of my journey.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Like, wow. How do we find you?
Well, you can actually find me through my Linktree link that I actually left here for you as well. And it's www.linktr.ee and then / Alex Angelo Spiritual Guide. So again, I know that you're going to be able to put it over there so that people actually, you can find all my LA-based magazine interviews, different podcasts with different podcasters, and all my interviews with other, independent projectors who wanted to have a project about me. And all the questions were answered during those interviews. And also you can find different kind of websites, my YouTube channel, as well as the different platforms where I actually kind of offer my services. So you can feel free to check it all out there, including my reviews and my testimonials.
Gotcha. Alex Angelo on Linktree. Alex
Yeah.
Angelo Spiritual Guide.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Amazing. I got to tell you, that went deeper than I ever imagined, and it totally resonates with me. And I really, really mean that. You validated some things for me with that reading.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So you see,
Yeah.
this is how what I'm saying. When you know how to work with the cards and the subconscious mind, you will get always the answers
Yeah.
that will help you to understand situation.
The connection. Thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's my greatest pleasure as well, Steve. Thank you so much
Thanks.
for being here with me.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.